Oh yeah. Throw your threes up. Trust and believe the changes in your hands. Go ahead and take a stand, throw them up. Just believe you could do it. Hard work, that'll work. Every step will take you to it. Throw them up.
What's going on, advocates? Welcome back to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is a change maker, man, and we talk about a lot of the problems in our communities about certain things, and it's the Black Mental Health Podcast. But one thing that always weighs heavy on me is the youth. And if you ever hear me ask therapists and conversations about what's going on, and we're going to get into it, but I'm going to introduce today's guest. Now, with the introductions, King, I don't introduce anybody because y'all work hard, and I don't want to miss a credential or whatever you got going on. So please introduce yourself to the people. Let them know a little bit about you.
All right, my name is Andre Ellis, also known as Mr. Ellis The Teacher. I am a educator, teacher in the school district of Lancaster, and I'm also the co-owner of Throw Your Threes Up, which is a faith-based educational entertainment company. And been in school, doing school as a teacher, I say about 2 years now, pretty much since the pandemic started. I started teaching, and I'm excited to be here. I really appreciate you again for bringing me on here so we can talk about, what I bring to the table and Black mental health as well.
So you said you just recently got into it. What made you make the shift into like getting into teaching?
So I graduated from Bloomsburg University. Shout out to BU.
BU. I went to Shippensburg too. So
okay, that's what's up. Yeah, I graduated in 2009. I graduated with a business administration degree.
Okay.
And I came out 2009. That was, recession time, and I really couldn't find a job during that time, really. And my mom was in education, and she suggested that I become a paraeducator. It's pretty much like a teacher's assistant. Mm-hmm. And so I went into that field as a substitute. I started subbing in multiple disability classrooms. I went through the IU 13, so I went through multiple disability classrooms, went through autistic support classrooms. I went through various different classrooms just to figure it out, see if, what I liked and what I didn't like, just to kind of get my foot in the door. And I would say from there, I went as a paraeducator to a TSS, and the TSS is just a one-on-one support with a person that might be on the spectrum, or they might be having behavior problems or anything of that sort. And then I went from there. I got transferred from a first grader to a high school student. Oh. And so I went from the
little difference.
Little guys to the big guys. Absolutely. And then I went into the high school, and I was just a TSS there, but then there was an open position at the school for a full-time paraeducator. So they hired me on as a full-time paraeducator there. And then pretty much around that time, that's when I pretty much figured out, like, this is what I want to do. And I fell in love with education. Like, I got bit by the education bug, and I would really say, like, all right, like, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna go about it, but I know I want to be around these kids, because like, it was really fulfilling to be able to be a support for these kids. Like, I wasn't even necessarily in it to educate at the time. I was just being a mentor to these kids, and I was like, I'm able to pass down my experiences and be able to help lead them in the right way, and give them, those talks that they might not even be getting at home at that certain time. So I fell in love with education. So then I went back to school. I got my master's and got certified as a teacher. And then pretty much right after I got my master's and certified, that was 2019. Then 2020 came, and the pandemic came. Mm-hmm. And yeah, during that time, I actually went back into the classroom as a paraeducator, and then they sent a lot of people home during that time, like because they didn't know what was going on, and I was sitting at home, and but at the same time, you know, I had my degree, and I started looking for jobs and all that, and pretty much became a teacher during the, you know, through the pandemic.
Yeah, no, it's funny you share that because, well, not funny, but ironic. Because as I was building this podcast and getting to the mental health space, I was substituting, or I was a peer paraprofessional at
Okay.
certain schools, and so I was doing it through the what do you call it? It's like a job thing where they call you, like for when the teachers call out, they call them to come get the
Yeah,
teacher
yeah,
people. So
yeah.
I was moonlighting in that capacity, and then when the pandemic came, I had just started that. Pandemic
Okay.
came, and then I got wiped out, and they didn't know. I remember that last day like it was in nothing. Like they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
So it was very spooky, and just to know that while I was exiting, you were entering. It's just how life
yeah.
just shapes the way we interact with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely a wild time to be going into education during this time, you know, during the pandemic. And yeah, I definitely got, you know, plenty of stories around it, and you know, a story to tell around it as I continue to press forward. Yeah.
One of the questions, and I'll ask you because you mentioned it earlier about some of the things that brings you value is talking and kind of mentoring the kids and having that conversation, and I understand that as well. One of the things I always ask the therapist when they come on is especially when you're working in the school, how can you effectively help support the children when sometimes they're going home into environments that aren't helpful. So you
Yeah.
being in that setting, on a day-to-day basis, what has your experience been like?
Um, Consistently day to day, you gotta, you know, come to that day with a clean slate. You know, coming with that clean slate, you're able to, you know, continuously to pour yourself into them, and see where they're at for that day, and continuously just try to meet them where they're at. And that's really the best that you can do, is meet them where they're at for that day, because it's, you know, they're really going to come in different, like each day there's going to be some different things that are going to happen, that are going to be consistent, but there's always going to be multiple different things that are going to happen that you just got to be kind of quick on your toes, you know what I'm saying, and be able to be flexible. You got to be flexible as a teacher, and be able to, you know, take the punches, but at the same time be able to recover, and, you know, reflect, and take that feedback from, you know, your friends or colleagues, and continue to press forward, and, you know, put your energy into each day.
As a educator, right? I know my wife is in the education field, and one of the struggles that she always has is that you want to help your students, but you don't necessarily always have all the tools and resources available to you to help support your students in the best way that you can. What do you do to navigate that, or support yourself, or go, migrate through those, pitfalls?
Oh man, it's, yeah, I try to lean on the, you know, the senior teachers that have been through some things, you know, and, you know, over the years, the teachers that been teaching for, you know, 15, 20 years or so, and continue to rely on them, and figuring out, you know, what would you do in these type of situations, and how can you handle it? And, you know, taking that, I believe that counsel is really best. And figuring out, you know, how you can use it in your way of using it, you know, because you don't want to use all these, I don't want to say like old tactics, but you want to be able to use, you know, those tactics that work in a new way as well. Yeah.
Um, it was a question that I had, and it was in regards to the students, but I forgot. But one just popped up about dealing with parents, and you deal with the babies that the parents are still like, you know, overprotective, or sometimes the parent could be complicated in dealing with trying to support their child. How do you navigate that where you like, yo, I love your kid almost like as much as you love your kid and I want to help, but you are kind of blocking this in this capacity? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, it's because you're always gonna get those type of situations, and like I can't even fake it. Like it's hard to get through those situations. Like, but the best thing you can do is just continue to build rapport with that parent. Like it's building rapport with that parent. They'll kind of understand that you got the student's best interests at heart. You know what I'm saying? And being able to just continuously just get on them and help them to understand that you're there for them and that you got their back as well, like as the parent, and that helping them to see that by them being in tune with what's going on there is only going to help their student. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, like I said, it's hard to navigate that, and it gets exhausting, but yeah, you just got to continue to press forward in it the best way you can.
All right, so this is a bigger question that I try to just pull everyone's insight on, because I know it's bigger than us and things that have been around longer than us. Even like being in the mental health industry and being in this system, I think it's compared to the educational system, where in order to really, and I think you're doing a great job of it, so I'm leading into it right now. It's hard for me to help the people within the system while being a part of the system that is almost like traumatizing. So, for example, and again, I think you know where I'm going with it. You're doing something different with education. As I said, I was getting caught up on all the things that you do. You're doing something different with education that needs to be happening. It's almost like, for lack of a better term, whitewash European, where of course it's not going to relate to our babies if it doesn't connect with them. So you're connecting with them. Same thing what I feel about mental health. The reason why this podcast came about is I needed to wear the hat. I needed to talk to somebody that's in the t-shirt. Like, we needed to have conversations in a way where no, mental health still applies, but it has to be communicated in a way. How do you navigate that educational system where everyone's so accustomed to this system, but you need to introduce a new way of articulating the system?
Oh man. Yeah, I think just continue to press forward and help them to understand that helping to the parents, from the staff to the administration, just helping them to see that, like, we need to make a change. We need to make a change. It's like we're beyond making a change. Like, and continue to reach out to the school board, continue to reach out to the people and connect them with them. And because it's a lot of times it's the people on the school board and stuff, or the people or in higher administration levels, like they're not really they don't have the boots on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And they're not seeing what's going on, and just connecting with them and relaying your message about what's going on in the classrooms. That can be a lot in itself, and help in itself, and help to make those little changes, because like you're really only going to make little changes here and there. You're not going to change the whole within itself. But and then continuously, when it, like I said, that's one thing, reaching out to like the people on the school board and connecting with them and helping them to see, like, we need to put mental health first. We need to put different things first that's gonna help the student to build as a whole, and not just continuously teaching them to the test and teaching them in certain ways that they're really not learning from.
You said something that again speaks to my heart. What have you noticed as an educator about the mental health of the children that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, especially through the pandemic, I've seen, their mental health it's really wearing on, and it's really wearing on everybody as a whole. Like, I can see how it's affecting everybody, from the teachers, administration, to the students, to the parents. And I'm really, you can tell when something's affecting a student, or you can tell something's happening in the home because just the way students come in and react to certain things. Like you could be telling them something simple or something, like just get out your pencil, or can you get your book out of your backpack or something like that. And, they're breaking down, or they're just, going all against it in different ways. And that I feel like certain kids in, in the inner city, or the urban schools, they might have struggled before, but I feel like it's developed new levels that really it's hard. It just gets hard, man. And continuing, I would say, like, I've seen, kids come in and they're really just breaking down. A lot of kids, they're breaking down, and just because in my position as well, I also say, like, I'm in cyber learning as well. And I'm in the cyber learning, but I'm also in an elementary school, which they call the hub. And I'm in Smith Waddell Elementary. And a lot of times, like, so basically the parents are going through the curriculum with the kids at home, and then they come to me with anything that they're struggling with, or if they need extra help in any certain subject or anything like that. So a lot of times, if I'm in between a tutoring session, I might go around within the school just to make my presence known and stuff like that. And then I'll go into maybe a first grade classroom, or maybe a fifth grade classroom, just assisting teachers and stuff like that. And I'm seeing kids that are just totally not engaged, don't want to tune in, and they're really going against everything that the teacher's saying in the classroom. And I'm just coming in, as maybe some behavior support, or just taking the kid out and, taking them on a walk or something, to giving them a break or something like that. And the kids, you can see the mental health continuously, it's wearing and tearing on these kids, and that the school, we need to take, I would say, more of a focus on the mental health as well.
You bring up two important points, and you might see me write some stuff down because I don't want to forget something that you said. But one of them being going in and helping other teachers and support. And for me, I sit on the board, so I want to go back to that too when I round back around that. But I sit on the board, and one of the meetings that I attended, and it's the board for a school. One of the meetings I attended, they were having a teacher development, and one of the teachers were whoever was facilitating the development for that particular session was saying, if you came here just to teach, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
And some days you'll be the counselor, you might be a mom, you may be a clothes provider. There's many different hats you may wear, not just being an educator, especially dealing with certain vulnerable populations. So that message always resonate with me. But the question that I wanted to bring up is, what do you say to those teachers or educators who are unable to garner that attention and respect and trust from the kids to give them their full attention? And the reason why I ask that, because even with public speaking, I know when I go into a room, I have to gain, it's a short window before they try to, before they'll say, all right, we're not listening to you, we tapping it out, or it's like, you got something to say that I want to hear. And if you don't gain that really, really fast, like, you may lose them for the rest of your time, and it's hard to get that back. What do you say to other educators? Because obviously you have a way of connecting people or connecting with the students where you can navigate around the school like that, where some educators probably like struggle, like, I don't know why these kids won't listen to me, or I don't know why they don't want to hear what I had to say. Like, what's wrong? How do you help them that when they're struggling with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think your attention always starts with motivation, and you have to motivate them, and you have to show them what you're teaching is relevant to how they're going to be living their life, and how it's going to be relevant to their life. And whether that's coming in and explaining something, whether that's setting up the classroom in a way that it's going to change the whole environment for them, or whether that's coming in and starting off with something that's just going to meet them where they're at by doing a song to a popular song that they might know or something like that, and engaging with them. But we have to make it relevant so they can see that, okay, this applies to, when I go home and play Roblox, I'm able to see that, when I make Roblox money, I'm able to apply the math to that and stuff like that. You have to make it relevant to them. And if it's not relevant to them, then they're that quick. They're just going to turn it off and get into all the behavior stuff they're going to get into.
Yeah, I believe that 100%, man. And one of the things that I struggle with trying to pass the message off, where you may just not be fit for that position. You get what I mean? Like for that, you may not be, because yes, you may have the credential, but if you don't have the connection, the credentials don't matter.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like they're not going to communicate the information and it's not going to relate. So I salute to you, and I'm going to get to some of your content in a few minutes, because I think it's a viable piece that's missing from communities of color and like impoverished communities, where we don't care about a lot of this stuff, man. And it's not that we don't care because we don't want to learn it. Y'all are making it so unrelatable to my life that I don't care to learn any of this. Like I don't want to learn. But if you transform it into, like you said, Roblox, maybe something from the NBA, some hip hop, something that connects with my soul and what I'm going through, I'll be more likely to pay attention. But y'all don't even go the extra mile to try to get that type of information, because all you feel like you have to have is the credentials.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And being able to connect with them is a big, like, that's really, like, again, why I got into teaching and being able to connect with the kids and pass down my experiences, or pass down, listen, this is what I did wrong, and this is how I can show you how to do better. And I was where you were at and all that, and being able to pass it down. So it is, and when you go into the buildings, like, especially as a Black man, like, these kids gravitate towards you. Like, they gravitate towards you because they immediately feel that they can connect with you. And maybe you might not be able to connect with them on all levels, but just them being able to see you in the building makes them feel a little bit different about their education. And it's all relevant. It's all important, essential.
Yeah, man. And going back to the point of like even being on the board, the reason why I got on the board of the school is because I'm like, all right, I can come into these school and talk to these kids, but that's not long-standing impact. And so now I'm on the board, and now I see why the board get handcuffed, because I can't even do nothing on the board way without, because they got responsibility, the funders and the people that's paying stuff. And I'm like, man, everywhere kicks the can over to someone else's, and then the kids lose around all of that.
Yeah. The kids are at the bottom losing because of all the extra politics of it. Yep.
So I always salute to the people that's on the day-to-day basis with the kids, because I know that's not that's not an easy task to, fight with your hands behind your back. Like you're fighting almost like a never-ending fight, and it's important to show up and be there, because even if you reach one kid, I think it makes all the difference in everything that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's really what got me into it, because, like, again, I started it out one-on-one with, I started out as a substitute, but then I transferred into going one-on-one with a kid, and really having that one-on-one relationship is really what sparked me wanting to be in education more. It wasn't even the total me being in front of a classroom type situation. It was I'm connecting and mentoring a kid, and I feel like I can really say some things to him that it's going to change his perspective and change his life in the long run.
And I don't know if y'all heard the video start to play, but y'all if y'all listening, go to the YouTube real quick and y'all gotta see what this brother is doing because it's amazing work, man. And go to the YouTube, I'll put it up there. But just
When we counted by 7, then you better start counting when we count by 11. When you multiply, then you need to watch your energy. We're gonna start counting 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66. This a feeling of a shot that you can't miss. 77, 88, 99, 110. We multiply. You thought we couldn't count by 11. You must have not checked Mama Lennon. You thought we couldn't count by 11. You must have not checked Mama Lennon. We multiplying and we count by 11. We multiplying and we count by 11.
so talk to me about the thought process. I mean, it's obvious that it was teaching like counting, but what was your thinking behind creating like something like that?
Oh man, so it really all started from student teaching, really. Like to be honest, I've made music like well before I became a teacher. I started out in a group like when I was in high school, and then I went along to another group when I was in college as well. And then I kind of fell back from music for a little bit as well. But then during my student teaching, I had to create a sixes multiplication lesson. And I went looking on YouTube trying to find something that I could use to get these kids engaged in the beginning of my lesson. And went looking on YouTube, but I couldn't find anything that sounded like kids' music today. Like it was hard to find. Like it was either little kid Mickey Mouse type music or it was like an old person rapping. Like, and these kids today, they're not going for that. Mm-hmm. They are not going for that. Not these kids today. Like maybe when I was younger, like I maybe would have went for it, but these kids today, they're not going for it. So I was like, oh, man, I ain't even gonna bring that in there. So, and then I kind of went to sleep that night and then woke up the next morning. I was like, why don't I write something? Like I've been making music for years. Like why don't I write something? And that kind of, sparked my passion for music again. But then I wrote something that morning. Wrote a sixes multiplication song, took it into the classroom, did it in the beginning of the class, and these kids loved it. Like they ate it all up. Like, and they kept asking me to do the song every day after that, like every day, like, Mr. Ellis, can we do the sixes multiplication song? And like, I kept saying, like, I got other stuff to teach. Like, I can't do the sixes song every day.
Right.
So, but that's how I knew, like, I kind of got them, like I was able to get them engaged in what I was doing and that they really liked it. And it really helped for the lesson as well, because they stayed in tune for the rest of the lesson after I did the song in the beginning. And so that was during student teaching. But then, like I said, I graduated, then the pandemic came, and then I was back in the classroom as a paraeducator, but then we all got sent home. All the paraeducators got sent home. So we were at home, still not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I was thinking, all these kids are home right now, mm-hmm. not doing anything. They're on their phones, they're on their tablets right now. They're not mm-hmm. doing anything right now. They might be getting some papers from the teacher or something mm-hmm. like that, like do these lesson plans or something, on Seesaw or something like that. But I'm thinking in my mind, these kids are not doing that right now. Mm-hmm. They're not doing it. That if they weren't paying attention in the classroom, they're mm-hmm. not going to do the papers, outside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. So I just kept thinking in my mind, like, I need to do something. I need to step in the gap. And so during that time, I was sitting at home. I started writing all the other 10 songs. I came out with 1 through 10 multiplication songs. And I pretty much, built the album out of it. and I called it Multiply With Me. And you can actually get that on all digital platforms right now. And that's the album cover that's right behind me right now, Multiply With Me. But I wrote all 1 through 10 songs, and I even wrote a little bit more to just kind of have stuff in the bag so I can bring them out a little bit later as well. But yeah, then at the same time, I was still sitting at home. Then I started going live on Facebook and stuff like that. And I was like, these kids are sitting at home. I need to at least give them some type of lesson or something like that that they can tune into. So I started going on Facebook and started going live and saying, like, parents, tune in at have your kids tune in at 12 o'clock. I'm going to give a multiplication lesson. And then I will always go live and do my songs in the beginning as well, and do a whole lesson. And I was seeing how much the parents were loving it as well, on top of the kids liking it. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I started and how it kind of grew from there. And yeah, from there I just kind of was like, all these different ideas kept sparking, and I was like, I might as well kind of create a company around this. And I created Throw Your Threes Up, and in the beginning of all my videos, I would always say something motivational for the kids. I was like, throw your threes up, just believe in yourself, just believe in your dreams, and just believe in God's purpose for your life. And yeah, I always try to say something motivational before I gave the lesson, and then I would, do the songs and then do the lesson. And like I said, I continuously saw different people seeing the engagement, whether it was the kids or whether it was the parents, and saying, yo, I love this. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there. But I also want to say, like, when I did start going live on Facebook and all that stuff, I did everything wrong. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do anything right. Like when I started going live, I had my headphones with the mic attached to it right there, and then I just had a Bluetooth speaker, and I was playing the music on there. Like, and that's not how you're supposed to do it when you're going live, like into Facebook or YouTube. So like the music wasn't sounding the best when I was going live, and at the same time, I was just continuously learning as I was going, and but yeah, that's pretty much how it grew into what it is right now. Yeah.
So my problem with everything you just said is the same problem that we have for centuries, where somebody like yourself who cares and has the creative ability and wants our kids to succeed will start to meet resistance after a while because of a system that doesn't want to change. Whereas you said it'll make the impact, but for some reason they don't want to invest in the impact that it will make, where you should be everywhere. This should be amplified. This should be in all spaces. But for whatever reason, talk to me about the resistance or whatever for you to integrate this as something that we all should have in some capacity. Because I was that parent that was looking for stuff during the pandemic for my kid while they was home, and I couldn't find nothing. I was paying for little programs online, getting the free trials, and I wish I would have known that yours should have been amplified as something like, hey, this is for your kid to kind of like pay attention into something too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, as I continued to navigate and tried to figure things out with what I was doing, there was always some type of resistance or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think me being actually in cyber kind of helped me, because in the cyber learning, we were not only like I was teaching different lessons and stuff like that to learners and tutoring and stuff like that, but at the same time, like I wasn't doing this actually in the classroom all the time. And in cyber, we were also creating like different like enrichment lessons that we were able to give to the learners. So I always gave the multiplication enrichment lesson. And being able to do that, I was able to actually take what I do into the classroom on the cyber level and be able to you know, and a lot of times, like when I came into cyber, you know, everybody was asking for cyber during that time because of the pandemic. So I was getting learners from all over, pretty much Lancaster, from different parts of Lancaster in cyber. So it kind of, I would say, exposed me on a local level of being able to introduce what I do, and kind of, I would say, set it up for the long run of being able to expose, you know, I would say almost like brand awareness in a way, because I was getting a lot of different learners from all over. And like a lot of the Zoom classes that I was doing, it was like maybe like 30 or almost 40 kids in one Zoom class, just because they actually wanted to be in my Zoom class.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that was interesting part as well of being able to introduce what I do. Yeah, and as far as any other resistance, I can definitely tell, you know, when it comes to, you know, being in any school district, like it's like they're gonna want you to teach to the test and want you to teach, you know, their curriculum in the way that they want you to teach it. And you know, I could see myself continuously building in that way, and but eventually at some point, you know, deterring myself and trying to move on in a different way. But at the same time, you know, you just trying my best to continue to navigate through it.
And but that's the problem that that made me even ask you that question, is because their way hasn't been working. Like our kids are low, or scores are low. Like we're not coming out, and I'll speak for myself, not coming out as prepared to go to school and college the way that we supposed to go. Like it's not working in the capacity. And then we look at a nationwide, like a nationwide thing, comparing to other countries. Like when we look at how US country versus China and all the other countries that's out there, we fall way below the waistline. So that's why it's always, for me, like, again, me wanting to get on the board and go behind the scenes of like, oh, this is just a cycle of like, y'all don't, it doesn't come in the job of, all right, we want to impact the kids. I even seen in other ways, and not the board that I'm on, in other ways where people will judge up numbers and all these other things to talk about impact. And I'm like, that's not the reality. Like that's not the reality of what's going on when you go on the day-to-day of the schools. And I don't know, it just bothers me because at the end of it, it's kids from impoverished communities or Black and brown babies who don't receive the education that they receive. And I grow up to be the Black and brown people where I'm not fully prepared to be a citizen and be functional in society.
Yeah. And it's really a shame on how the cycle continues to keep, like it just stays on the same wheel. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you get little changes here and there, but it's totally, you can see it's like totally doesn't want to change. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I still just, you know, you still try to continue to keep hope. You still try to advocate and try to get, you know, more Black and brown people into the education system as well, just so we can try to, you know, change things from within, but actually, in some ways or another, you know, I would say we have to build our own as well. We have to build our own.
This is a fact, and the only way we can build, for me anyway, the only way I've learned to build a sustainable our own is to learn how they've built a sustainable one for themselves. Yep. Because we'll have these flash in the plan ideas, and then they won't last long, and they're never sustainable, and then we got to go back to the same exact way. But if we find out, all right, this is how y'all stay as a functional, sustainable, you know, ecosystem or business or wherever we need to keep the cycle going, we can create that and also do the same thing for our own with the level of love and care that we want to put into it.
Absolutely. And I could definitely see myself eventually getting to that level of, all right, this is what we need to establish. You know, I feel like I have enough education and information that I need, that I can move on and build in the right way. And that's, you know, that's the type of people I want to come together with as well, and you know, continue to build.
Now, likewise, and if there's anything that I can do with my platform resources or connections or anything that I could do with the knowledge I have of being on a board or whatever the case may be, I'm here to support and help. And before we get to your final thoughts, I just wanted to play this other clip because, again, Mr. Ellis, the teacher, is doing some amazing work out here, and I want to highlight as much as I can in the short amount of time that I have you. But please go check out the Instagram, the YouTube.
Mr. Ellis The Teacher. Oh, yeah. Right. You want to multiply with me? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Throw your threes up. Trust and believe the changes in your hands. Go ahead and take a stand. Throw them up. Just believe you can do it. Hard work, that'll work. Every step will take you to it. Throw them up. Throw them up. Throw them up. Now you got it. Let me see you count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Throw them up. Throw them up. Throw your threes up. Throw them 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 up. Can you multiply like me? You want to count out with me? 9, 18, 27, 36, and 45. Throw them up. Throw your threes up. You need to just believe in yourself. Just believe in your dreams. And just believe in God's purpose for your life. It's time to go. Threes up right now.
Man, I feel like that's the best way to end off. But did you have any other things you want to leave off with the people with? Any lasting message to parents, teachers, or even students? Anything you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, man. Again, I appreciate you. Continue to amplify the message of all the things that you continuously talking on the things that we need to continuously talk about in the Black community. And I just want to leave with saying, I've started out in multiplication, but I definitely want to continue to expand on it in other areas. Like I believe multiplication is where I started at, because it's one, I saw how these kids were struggling so much with it, and it's such a universal tool that they need to have. But bringing that universal tool of multiplication and bringing it together with music, which is another universal tool, I feel like it was the most powerful way that I could, start off. But being able to expand into different things, whether it's science, whether it's history, Black history, whether it's even talking about things that they're not talking about in school, that the skills that they need to have, whether it's investing, whether it's, we're talking about mortgages or taxes and stuff. Like, I feel like all these things can be used in music. And I feel like music is such a powerful tool that we can use to really to amplify and speed things up as well. Because even if you think about it, you could think you can basically remember the lyrics of all these different songs, but you could read a book and not even remember a chapter. You know what I'm saying?
The crazy part is we get penalized for that too. It's like, oh, you can remember all these songs, but you can't remember. I connect with the song. I don't connect with this book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a powerful tool that I look to continue to expand on. And like I said, it's, I always try to start out with the threes. So it's just believe in yourself, just believe in your dreams, and just believe in God's purpose for your life. And I believe the more that we come together, we're going to be all right and continue to press forward.
On that note, please share something that Mr. Ellis, the teacher, has shared today in this podcast. Share this episode with somebody. Leave a comment on iTunes of something that he quoted and put it out there. Quote the last 3 things out there and put it on as a review, so that when people listen to this episode, they know what they're getting. And make sure y'all follow, support, like, subscribe, everything that he has going on, and go listen to the music. I need a t-shirt, by the way, anyway, but we'll talk about that.
Gotcha.
And on that note, please remember that this platform has never been about being a replacement to therapy. It's an alternative place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.
66. This a feeling of a shot that you can't miss. 77, 88, 99, 110. We multiply